So it's a dreary morning in the southern Appalachian Mountains. Matt and I have come out into the mud bog. That's what we've got. It's a mud bog. You can't even walk without the mud trying to suck your shoes off. We wish we could work, but we're not really sure of anything we could do in the mud's so bad. But we've come out here just to kind of plan and see what we could do. I'm still thinking about the beds and how what we're gonna do with them. I wish the rain would quit and the mud would dry up, but we're forecasted it's supposed to rain today, like 80% chance, so it'll probably start raining while we're standing here.
Yeah.
And I think it's supposed to rain some next week.
Yeah.
So for several years we've been in a really wet weather pattern or whatever, and it's getting old.
It is.
It's getting old. Last summer was the best summer we've had, and I don't know when. We actually got dry enough to have dust last summer. I was like, dust? I've not seen that in literal years. So I was hopeful maybe the pattern had kind of changed, but it seems like we're back in the wet weather this winter. No snow, just all rain. But as Matt likes to say, you can't fight the weather. You just got to go along with it. So, yeah.
You got to learn to like mud.
Yeah, learn to like mud. So Matt's still thinking about how he's going to use the metal to build the beds, like we shared in a different video. And then two really kind people, wonderful subscribers, a few months ago sent us some beds, some like metal beds. I'll put the link below of the kind that they bought, and we've not opened them or tried to put them together yet. At the time when we first got them, we weren't thinking that we were going to get to have the bank done, so we were actually thinking somehow we could repurpose them to use on the two banks that are kind of by our steps that go down into the lower yard, and because we want to quit having to weed eat that. But now that we have these beds up here, Matt's wondering if we shouldn't have at least put one of them together and see if it would fit along one of these, and then that one would already be built for us. So we're going to do that today. We may, if the rain chases us out, we may have to go down in the basement to put them together and to get out of the mud and the rain. So a few weeks ago, I got Matt to help me dig up some of my irises in a bed that I had never removed. And you can see we got a lot of irises. My thought is, and you can see how much it's rained too, I need to definitely pour that rain out so these won't be so wet. I guess it's down in this one too probably. But my thought is I can take each one of those, like this big piece there. I could take that, and you can see a little green right there. I could take those and cut them up, slice them up, because irises are just, I mean, they're so tough. And then I could take them over to where Thomas did the work. And so all the little beds that Thomas created, you can see it left this, on the front side, kind of where he had to move the dirt. It's kind of open and dirt, not very good dirt, but irises usually are not very picky. So I could just take those cut up irises and poke them in along those areas, and if they took root and took holt as we would say, and grew, they could kind of just naturalize and come down the bank and help prevent some of the trees and the bushes and the brambles that was growing there, that we cut back. Maybe they would help prevent that over time. I'd love to do that today, but it's just too muddy. So as you can see, it's definitely a muddy mess. This time of the year is always muddy, but it's worse for us this year, I think. Well, we just had so much rain, and then because of having the heavy equipment in here, they can't help it. They're so heavy, they leave tracks, and then those tracks just begin to hold water when it rains. This is the kind of where the herb bed was at that I was telling you about, that kind of, I had to sacrifice to get the work that I wanted done. I was trying to see if I could see anything that actually survived, and I see right here is some oregano. So that's survived, my oregano. It looks pretty pitiful, but it will come back out. That was bad. Oh gosh, that was bad. I actually just stepped in like a sinkhole. That was bad. I don't need to be over in there for sure. So this is the bed that we dug the irises out of, and I knew we didn't get them all. I told Matt, don't worry about it, get everything you see, and there'll still be some, and you can see right there some coming up. So Matt's already got the first one out of the box, and we're trying to figure out what kind of configuration we're going to do. I think there's 9 different ones, and if you're interested in the name of them, this is it, Vego Garden. So we're so grateful to Nancy and Jamie who sent these to us. So kind of them to want to help us with our gardening, and we just really, really appreciate them. Now, since we got these from Nancy and Jamie, this wonderful gift, Corey and Austin, because their yard is different than ours in that they don't even have as much room as we do. They have even less than we do. And it's not really set up for gardening. The people that built the house, I'm sure it was more of like a kind of a retirement home or a second home, if you will. Anyway, so they don't have as much space. So when Corey found out about these, she got really excited. Her and Austin both did. So they bought several, and they've already got them set up, and she's really pleased with them. Of course, this will be the first year she's grown in them, so she'll have to find out how good they work or not. I think they will, though. Go ahead. Matt's being loud. I think Corey did a video about hers, though, so I'll be sure to link to it so you can kind of see what her and Austin decided to do with theirs. But we're going to go with the, what did we say? What did you say? 8 foot by 2 foot.
2 feet wide, 8 feet long.
Yeah, and we're just going to use 2 of the beds, kind of the ones closest to the corner of the house, closest to the kitchen for me. We're going to try putting them there, and then Matt will be able to build the others out of the 10 that we saved off the house. So now Matt's just going to get to work putting them together. So the next step is actually putting it together. It comes with directions, but basically you're screwing it together. It comes with a little thing that you can hand screw, but Matt kind of is using a drill. He had to adjust some of his, what do you call it, bits?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a metric.
It's metric, and
all my drivers for my drill were not metric, but I found a metric socket in one tool set and found a drive bit that would fit it in another set.
so he's just kind of making it work so it'll be easier. Okay, first one completed. One down, one to go, I guess. Looks pretty nice. Looks like it would grow a lot of, it's a lot of space for food. So, and it went to gather fairly fast since Matt kind of figured out how to use his drill. He can explain more about that before the video's done, but what do you think, Matt? Easier than pulling logs out of the woods?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Seems like you could grow a lot of stuff in that too.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you had a bunch of them.
Yeah. Seems pretty sturdy.
Yeah, pretty sturdy. If I have to, if you need to, if it wants to bow out when you put wood in it, we'll just drive a stake down the side of it.
Yeah, yeah. When we put the dirt in, if it bows, you
Yep.
could do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you'll have to though, really. You really just need something to corral the dirt.
You gonna fill it all the way up?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, or at least almost.
That's what's gonna be bad up there.
It's hauling the
Get
dirt.
the dirt up there too.
I hope if Larry brings us some topsoil or whatever he brings us, we can dump it back there. Since we've already destroyed the yard anyway, might as well just make a dumping ground out of it. I have to climb over the mountains of stuff to go let the chickens out, but
Yeah. Well, it'll all.
We
get it
could
all
fill,
straightened out
we could
later.
put cardboard in the bottom and then kind of fill it up. We could fill it up with some of the trash, the limbs and stuff that's left on the bank. You know, we'll fill part of it up with that and then put some dirt and then some compost, I guess is what we'll do.
Okay.
So it won't be totally full of dirt, in other words.
Okay. You boss. You just tell me what put in.
Okay. One down, one to go. Lenten roses are still blooming, although they're kind of on their way out. They're still really lovely though. These are, I guess, hellebores is the real name, but we call them Lenten roses. Very pretty. Another thing that started blooming this week was my daffodils. These are the early ones, but you can see they're all in bloom. The rain we had overnight has made them kind of fall down. But they're still lovely. If the sun would come out, they'd kind of perk back up, but with more rain coming, may not get to enjoy their blooms as long this year as usual. So we got the first one up there. Matt may need to adjust how level it is. Looks pretty level though from here.
Ain't bad off. It's got low places under it,
We've got a few low places in the back.
but it ain't like you can dig that much. It's a rock pile.
Yeah, it's a rock pile, I know. We decided to put it towards the back, and that way this front part, you'll be able to stand up there and work the bed or plant, you know, if you're planting, if you're harvesting, whatever. And the bed's just 2 feet across, so you can definitely reach all corners of it. Looks pretty nice. That one looks nice too. How's it? More level than the other?
Oh, I'll just have to put a level on it. It's a high place right there. I need that matting.
Okay, I got it. This would be another good bed there in the front to use the irises on, Matt.
Huh.
This would be another good place to plant the irises that we were talking about,
Yep.
to kind of hold that back.
It will.
What you need, shovel?
I can't tell what it needs without getting back down there and looking at it or putting a level on it if you want it real good.
I just want it the way you want it. So if it works like that, that's fine. Once you put dirt and stuff in it, it'll
Can't go nowhere.
You're right, it can't go nowhere, so I don't know that it needs to be extremely level. It looks level from here. So,
And what your daddy used to say,
what'd he say?
I'd rather have what looks level than what is level.
Oh, yeah,
He used to always say it when he was building a house.
that was Pap's, one of Pap's sayings.
Rather have what looks level than what is level.
Well, that looks good.
The thing I don't like about it, it's a little torqued.
Was that because of how we put it together, or
No, it's just because of the ground.
because of the ground?
I think it's a little, needs a little digging out right there.
Lots of rocks. Rocks are our best crop.
And happy to sight.
Did it?
Yeah. Now let's set that down on the ground right there.
Okay. It's just about the right size to fill it in, ain't it? I mean, to fill in the space. Nice to leave that on the front so you have a place to stand flat, not be kind of off on the bank trying to stand up.
That ain't real bad up there.
No, it's nice. Looks good. May have to build steps to climb up to that one. I mean, we can just climb, but it would be, especially if you're carrying stuff, might be more convenient if you had steps.
Yeah.
Some of those down there, you could just kind of walk sidling out the bank, and
Well, it's a little downhill in this end.
I can't tell. Of course, I don't look at stuff like that. And once you have the stuff in it growing, you're only going to look at that. So, very nice. Studying that one. It's a lot bigger space, isn't it? What, would 2 of those fit there?
Yeah. You been up here where you can look and see the roof?
Yeah. Looks nice, don't it?
It's different.
Different, yeah.
Sounds different.
Yeah, it does sound different when it's raining. I got hot chocolate today. I just couldn't bear a popsicle on this dreary, rainy day. I will be doing good if we get out of here before it raining on us.
Yeah. That's all it does
Yeah.
is rain.
But we almost had, if Matt had just been videoing me, we could have had a viral moment and probably went crazy on the internet. I was trying to come across the kitchen handing Matt the hot chocolate, and somehow I got tripped up and basically threw my hot chocolate at him. Thankfully it didn't hit him, it just hit the floor and the door, the rug, everywhere else. Yeah, and me, it's all over me.
It was pretty sweet.
It was pretty crazy. I don't even know how I think my one foot got hung up in my opposite leg pant leg. I don't know how that happened. I don't have bell bottoms on, but are they bell bottoms? I don't think so. Somehow, leave it to me to do something like that.
I think your britches legs is longer than your legs is.
Yeah, they are a little long. I think that's what the problem is. But it's worth it. Worth all we had to clean up the mess, and I'm still wet, but it tastes pretty good, don't it? Kind of hits the spot.
Yeah, I'm just glad you didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Didn't fall all the way down. That would have been epic
Yeah.
to have to go to the ER over trying to make a garden video.
Over making hot chocolate. And
Yeah.
you could have got burned. I could have burned you,
Yeah.
and we both had to go.
With your back throwed out and me with third-degree burns.
Yeah.
Trying to make a garden video, that'd be epic.
Yeah. Thankfully, just left a big mess, and we cleaned it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a typical thing in our lives
Every day.
every day. Yeah. It's not me making the mess, it's somebody else.
Usually your daughters.
Yeah, usually.
Or your daughter's dog.
Yeah, or Olive. Yeah. A lot of people have been asking, talking about Olive, why we don't have a dog. We've always had dogs. What was your first? Well, yeah, I'm the reason why. But why? I mean, what was the first dog? Matt had Jack, Hank, Sally.
I don't remember. It's too long ago.
Anyway, and then Wilma. We had Wilma for a long time. Little Beagle. We adored her. She was. I mean, by that time, Corey and Katie had come along. Well, Katie and Corey was along for Hank That was one of Katie's
barely.
first words was Hank.
Yeah.
But Wilma was beloved by us and everybody else, and the coyotes got her.
Yeah.
And then after that, we had Ruby Sue, a little rat terrier, and she was just like a member of the family. And we had her for 14 years.
Yeah, she's my buddy.
Yeah, and she got doggy diabetes. She got diabetes, and so that's what happened to her. But she lived 14 years and was really healthy up until that last year. But she was really sweet. She was just part of the family.
Yeah, she's a fine dog.
Yeah. So after that, Matt and Corey and Katie, because that was before Corey was married, they wanted to immediately get another dog. But I didn't want another dog. Not that I'm against dogs, but it's just, you know, if you are a pet owner, you have tremendous responsibility. Every time we wanted to go out of town with Ruby, we had to figure out what to do with Ruby. And she she adored us, but she didn't care for nobody else. Nobody.
No.
No. I mean, there's just very few people that she would even let touch her if they come to our house.
Yeah, she had some kind of attachment, something or another. I don't know what you call that stuff, but
So it really traumatized her. If we went to Papa's like at Christmas or something, we could take her with us. That was fine. But then when we would go to somebody else's house while we were there, we couldn't take her, and she would just get traumatized, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
But anyway, we loved her, but it's just a responsibility. And I was like, you know, I want to not worry about a pet for a while. We still have the chickens, of course. We got to worry about them every day. But so I'm the one that didn't want a dog. But then now Corey has Olive, so it's kind of like we have a dog.
it's kind of like having grandkids.
Yeah.
You can play with them a little while and then send them home.
Because Olive is here a lot, so it's kind of like in a roundabout way we still have a dog.
Yeah, but I don't get to see her much because I ain't never here.
Yeah, you're not here. You're at work, but
So I still need a dog.
yeah. A dog would help with our deer problem, probably. An outside dog, like Wilma was, but then again, then you got to worry about them wandering off to other dogs and fighting with other dogs. There's lots of dogs in our holler,
Yeah.
so you got to worry about all that. So it's just, I just wanted a break from worry and responsibility. Because if you have them, you got to really take care of them and treat them good, and you know, make sure they're okay and think of them and all that. Ruby Sue was awful sweet, though. And Olive's sweet. Olive's just so big. She thinks that she's like Ruby. She thinks that she's a little bitty dog.
Yeah.
But she's not. But she thinks she is.
Yeah, she climbs up on you and just knock you down.
And Wilma was a sweet dog. I was devastated over losing Wilma.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd ever get over that, but finally did. Mean old coyotes got her.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking that our dogs have some interesting names, that's all because of Matt. He names them. He's always the one that names them.
Yeah. I like giving dogs funny names.
Yeah. Wilma fit her, and Ruby fit her. So, and Hank fit him. Even Jack, Sally, all of you did good. Yeah.
Yeah, Ruby's name. You remember when we was coming home with her when she'd fit in your coat pocket. She just barely weaned. And that Kenny Rogers song Ruby came on the radio, and I said, that's what I'm going to name that dog.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
When we were leaving, we bought her at the flea market.
Yeah.
And when we pulled out of the flea market, that song came on. And I said, that's a good name for her. So that's what we named her.
She was a good dog.
Yeah.
We had her for 14 years.
Right.
It's funny, though, how different they can be. Like, Wilma was a sweet dog, and she was an outside dog, which she preferred because she's a beagle. She wanted to run and chase rabbits, and that's ultimately her demise, chasing the rabbits, and the coyote got her. But at night, we would open the foyer door, and she would come in and then go down the basement steps and go sleep in the basement where it was warm. But she was so funny. She didn't want anybody really, I mean, she loved us, she adored us, but she wouldn't, and she let people pet her, but she didn't want nobody to watch her eat. You could have literally laid a steak in front of her and she wouldn't have touched it until you left, and then she would have, but she just would, I don't know, it was some kind of funny quirk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then Ruby wanted to eat all the time, and she preferred if she was eating in your lap.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just,
She'd tear your fingers off to get it, too.
yeah, she was just the opposite. Anyway, funny. But we got a lot done today in one way, not that we got to do any hard labor because of the mud, but getting those beds done. You see the green one, yeah, behind my head there. we turned out we really liked them. Matt really liked how they went together, and
I mean, they're aggravating to put together, but once you get them
Yeah.
together, it's done. I mean, other than putting the dirt in it, as opposed to all the other ones we've got,
Yeah.
I've had to build.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, that was a lot, the labor part of it was much easier.
yeah. So I wanted you to, so in case somebody is interested in it, I'll leave again the name. I showed you the name, but I'll leave it in the link below. But what were you trying to explain to me? Because I know nothing about putting stuff together. But the screws were metric, but you were able to use your drill even though you don't have metric. Well, explain that.
I just didn't have they make a little driver that will fit sockets. Then you can chuck it up in a drill and use your drill instead of using a hand tool. And I didn't really have that, so I just kind of improvised it with a piece of an Allen wrench, and it actually would allow the socket to slip over it. So I put the Allen wrench in my drill and then slipped the socket over the end of the Allen wrench, and it went much quicker being able to use the drill as opposed to having to do it by hand with a hand tool. And there was a whole lot of bolts.
Yeah, there is a
A
lot.
whole lot of bolts.
But it does come with a little tool, so if you don't have a drill and you get one, you could certainly do it that way.
Yeah, it comes
for
with it and it
sure.
works.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll work. It's just much quicker to do it the other way.
So one other tip you shared I thought would be very helpful was that to not tighten them so tight. I mean, the first one,
Yeah.
because to get the holes to line up, it's easier if you don't, like the very first 2 or 3 in when you're putting them in, that you don't tighten them all the way.
Right, the screws, the shank of the screw is smaller than what the hole is. So I just put them all in loose and then went back down and tightened them all in each panel. That way there's some play in it. In other words, if you tighten the very first one you put in, the bottom hole may be half hole off and then you can't get your screw in. So I just put them in finger tight, and then that way if I got down toward the bottom hole and had to move the panel a little bit to get the bottom screw in, I could, and then I went back and tightened them all with the drill.
It worked good. Yeah. And after you done the first one, or really the first panel, then you kind of got the hang of it. Yeah, and it went faster after that. But they turned out really, really nice. We're so grateful too to Nancy and Jamie for sending them.
Absolutely.
But now we're thinking, would that be, Matt's was going to use the metal, and we were going to buy cedar to, I guess,
Frame it.
Frame it. Yeah, there you go. But cedar is so expensive, and you may ask, well, why would you use cedar? Well, because it lasts longer. It wouldn't be, outside when you're thinking about building something that's going to be wet and damp with the wood and all, with the dirt up against it, and out in the elements, so it would just last longer. That's pretty much, unless you just, there's nothing else that would really last like that.
And you don't want pressure treated.
Yeah, unless you used pressure treated, but then we wouldn't want that against where we were growing food, because you don't know about what's in it, so.
Right, and the cedar lasts for years and years in the weather outside.
Yeah.
You could use wood out of the woods, but you'd have to get the correct type, and that's just a whole lot of work.
And then but it wouldn't last forever either.
No.
So I don't know. We're thinking about the cost of cedar. Matt's priced it, and it's very, very expensive right now, as lots of lumber is. So by the time you do that,
And there's more work involved in that,
and there's more
too.
work. You got to count that. There's more work involved.
We put these two things together in, I don't know, hour and a half.
Yeah, and it would take us at least a day for one bed
Yeah,
for these
probably.
others. By the time you did the frame, and even if you bought the lumber, because you got to cut it, you got to cut the tin, you got to cut all that.
Right.
So Matt's ideal was to maybe think about buying more of these for these beds, and then using the tin on some of our other beds that Matt did get wood. Just what are they? Oak, maple, whatever they
Just
are.
whatever I could get to
Whatever we can
in the
get
woods.
to. They're, because we've done it so many years ago, some of them's been replaced once, but now it's about time to kind of replace some of the others. So since they're down here on the flat, we might be able to use the tin for them.
Yeah.
Might be easier. So I don't know. We may have changed our plans as we went, instead of making the beds on the bank all out of the metal off our roof.
Right. And what's left of that metal, once we do what beds we're going to do, one of these days I'm going to build a shed, and I can
Yeah.
use that to roof the shed with.
Yeah. And Papaw needs some of it for his shed, so.
if I can ever get time to do it.
Yeah, I know. So, even though we didn't get to do the physical labor I wanted to do, Matt probably didn't want to do it. He's had a hard week at work.
Yeah.
But we did, at least we got those beds together, and then that kind of give us some thoughts that maybe that's the best way to go when you think about the price of the cedar, and then also, like Matt said, just the time involved.
Yeah, we could,
Yeah.
if we had enough of these beds like what we just put together, enough for what we've got dug out, probably in 2.5 hours time, they'd be sitting there.
Yeah, you could
Done.
do it all right, done.
Other than putting the dirt in them.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to put the dirt in them no matter what we put up there.
Yeah.
You know?
I kind of like the look of it's going to start raining on us.
Yeah.
I kind of like the look of the ones that we've done over the years with the logs.
Mm-hmm.
I like that better, but it doesn't last as long. And then I know that labor, I mean, you've got to be realistic too.
And then a good thing about these, like what we just did, or if we build them out of the metal, is you can get more depth.
Mm-hmm.
And number one, you're not bending over as far, but number two, your soil is looser and easier to work if it's deeper
Yeah.
than it is, because these out here are only 5-6 inches above the hard ground, the
Yeah.
actual original ground, and it's just full of rocks.
Yeah.
And
Even though we've added compost and added
Yeah.
compost. And then what happens, like I can see that one, when you keep adding compost, what happens is then it starts spilling out the top of your,
Right.
because it's just only one log high. So, but those have worked great over the years. We grew a lot of food in those.
they have fed us.
They have fed us, yeah. So, but you're always wanting to do, make things improve and do a little better.
Mm-hmm.
So, really exciting. Yeah, I think so, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Me and Matt, the older we get, the more exciting it is to know something might be easier than what we've done in the past.
Yeah.
So, this time of the year I start getting a little spring fever because I'm so anxious to get out into the garden. And I have to remind, I'm like, oh my goodness, would it quit raining so this could dry up? But then I have to remind myself I can't really be out planting a lot of stuff right now anyway. It's just the end of February. And hopefully in the next 2 weeks or something, we will plant our potatoes and maybe get some carrots and things like that started. I wanted to start my carrots already, but I've not done that. But at least we'll do it when we do the other stuff. So it'll be here before I know it, even though I'm kind of chomping at the bit. We've got to plant our tomato seedlings. We've got to get them started in the greenhouse. So, and hopefully those cabbage will be big enough that we can put them out in the garden too.
Yep.
I'm excited about the cabbage this year because ours was such a failure last year. And it was mostly a failure because of where we had to put them. So this year, we know we can put them back where we had them the previous year, and hopefully they'll do that good again.
Mm-hmm.
And as far, Matt was asking me, like, what in the world will we put up here? I don't know. It's just so exciting to think about. Would we want to do more like the blackberries have done so good? We want to do some raspberries. We have raspberries in a different part of the yard, and they've not really done that good. They get choked, or where they get choked out by a lot of other stuff.
Yep.
So would that be good in one bed? Would we want to do, Matt, you could even hang cattle panels in those things, couldn't you? Uh-huh. Would we want to do something that climbs like beans?
You could drive the posts on either end of it outside the bed on each end, and then run the cow panel right across the center of them if you wanted to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That would
Cow
work.
panels are fantastic.
Yeah, me and Matt, that's so many things, both of us, but and all of our family wish we could tell Pap about. I always say I wish I could tell him, do you know Katie makes a living selling rocks? Just because he'd get the biggest life out of that.
Yeah.
But cattle panels is another thing. We wish we could show him. Look what we learned and how good they work. They work so good.
And we used to dig and put poles in the ground and stretch wire and then string between the wire, and it works.
Yeah, that's what Pap always did. It worked. Like Matt said, it fed all of us,
Yeah.
but it was
But
just so much work.
Yeah, and you got to do it every year, as opposed to we put these in the ground and they just stay there.
Yeah.
So wherever our panels are and where they stay, that we already know what's going to be planted there, and we don't have to make all that preparation to do the planting.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that took some time and effort out of it, in
Yeah.
other words.
And that makes me think of another question. A lot of people say, "Well, don't you rotate your crops?" Well, no, we don't. I wish we had. I wish we had a big farm where we could really do that. But we have such small beds and small area, and then the way the sunshine is, we know which bed gets the most sun and which gets kind of shaded. So no, we can't do that. We do try to amend the beds every year, and we add compost to them. So that's about all we can do.
Yeah. If you rotate it much, it'll fall off in. It'd
Yeah, we would be.
roll off in the woods.
Roll off in the woods.
Yeah.
Would be like all those jokes where you plant taters on the side of the mountain and just open the bottom of the roll and they'll
Yeah.
roll out for you.
Right.
Yeah. We appreciate you visiting with us today as we worked in the muck and the mud. I about lost my shoes out there one time. And Matt was looking in the basement, seeing all the mud, like, where'd this come from? I'm like, it's off my shoes because I almost lost them out there. And now I've got some hot chocolate to go with it. But anyway, we appreciate you going along with us today, and didn't get to do much, but it was still nice to be outside, breathing the good air, and exciting to think about maybe we've found a different solution, an easier solution for the beds. And always exciting to think about those fresh food we're going to get to eat.
Can't wait.
Yeah, we're eating stuff from the freezer and from jars from last year, and it's good, but it just don't compare to the fresh.
Nah.
Yeah, it's just one of the favorite things about gardening is, and for me, actually, my whole Appalachian culture and Matt's, because we grew up in families that appreciated that. I grew up gardening with Granny and Pap and looking forward to those first fresh, whether it was squash or lettuce and onions, kilt lettuce in the spring, or the first corn, all those wonderful things. So exciting for us to continue that tradition. And we're always happy when you drop by to help us celebrate Appalachia. I think we've talked ourselves into using those, ain't you?
Well, especially for these up here, I think, yeah. I think that's the
I think
best
it makes
fit.
more sense.
I mean, it's going to be.
And we could do, like you said, like for those two, this one and that one, if you wanted to, we'd have to measure. If you wanted to, you could buy two and make it wider.
Right.
If it leaves you enough room to stand on, because you can't stand on this bank and get to those beds. So if it don't leave you enough room, we'll just have to do the one. You'll have to measure that for me and see.
And the only sucky thing's going to be is getting dirt in them, but we'll probably just have to do it out of 5-gallon buckets.
That's how we did that one.
Just we'll load it in the trailer and back it up here
Yeah.
close, and then just shovel into a bucket, carry it up and
Yeah.
dump it.
We can also, like I said, like see that tree. I mean, not tree, but that branch, and right there's a log. I mean, you start looking, they left some stuff, which I wouldn't want to climb up that steep part to get it. But you could kind of rake some of that down and pour it in the bottom.
Right.
And then we could add some compost, and I've got a pile of compost out there that needs to be used. We could do that, which that ain't going to do all of them by no means, but anyway.
Well, you could also, just for filler, you could put some of that mulch from last year in it.
Yeah, that'd be good too. Yeah,
And we could
absolutely. Get more.
Throw it in the trailer, back it up here, and
Yeah.
bucket it up there.
Yeah, that would be excellent. And then get him to just
Then
bring
get him
another
bring
load.
another load, yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping he can find us some topsoil, but he told Corey he's looking for it. So
Yeah, it's not as available as the other
Yeah,
stuff is.
I
It's
know.
kind of hard to find, and it's very expensive.
yeah,
Or
Yeah.
last I knew of it was.
I'm sure it is. But then when you compare it to buying bags of dirt, it's not.
No.
So maybe he'll find some.
You know, I ought to. I ought to get a couple of little buckets of hydraulic cement and cover every one of them little holes and stop those bees before they get started.
Yeah, you should.
Because it's just every year a fight.
Yeah, they don't bother me. They bother you.
All I got to do is open my door.
I know. I can sit right there on that step and
They eat me
Eat
up.
my
And
dinner
they never
and-
done that when I was young.
they don't even bother me. I do that sometimes, and they don't bother me at all. I sit right there beside them. You have some kind of attractant that they like,
It's a pheromone.
pheromone.
Yeah. It's kind of the same thing as all the ladies. I put that off, and then
Yeah.
I just have to beat them off.
I know. Go into the gas stations, you get hit on, don't you?
The only place I get hit on is the jail.
Oh.
And they're not the most savory little ladies, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you should do that.
that stuff sets up really quick.
Does it?
You know, and
So
you
what's it
mix
called?
Hydraulic cement.
Huh.
And you can get it in little 2 pound or 5 pound, little 2 pound pails, and then you just mix water in it, mix it, and you got to get it on there because it'll start setting up, and that's what it's designed to do. So
To
you
do
can
it
get
really
it,
fast.
so you can get it in a place that, you know, if you got a hole or something, if it's just regular wet cement, its own weight, it'll fall out or it'll fall
Yeah.
through. That stuff right there, it actually gets hot. It heats.
Neat.
So it begins to set up.
Yeah.
And we've used it at work quite a bit. I just had never used none here.
Yeah.
But that's what that needs.
This would be perfect because I can see all the way down through there. You could go.
And see, there's a big nest in there now,
Yeah.
and they're going to hatch.
Yeah.
And then they'll begin doing their thing all summer long, and then
Yeah.
they'll seal it off, and then it'll happen again next year.
You reckon they'll come out in the basement?
Well, I don't know. If they come out in the basement, that'd be horrific.
For Katie. It'd be
Now, I
funny,
have
too.
seen one or two in the basement just on occasion, just flying around.
Yeah,
Yellow
but
jackets.
but she may have her door open. They may come inside too. Anyway, you need to do it. Whatever happens. Whatever happens. We're gonna have to move that tin anyway, though, because it's in the way of my growing. So we don't know where we're gonna put it. But another bed we
It's
need
gonna
to.
suck.
I
I wish
know.
they hadn't put that there
Well,
behind that thing.
I
It's
know.
gonna make it hard.
I know.
I would have figured they'd have just stacked up some scrap lumber and stacked it on it out here in the yard somewhere.
Well, another bed we need to worry about is the one behind the greenhouse. It didn't do great last year, but that was the first time we'd ever used it, and we just halfway done it. But that's a good place to do like winter squash and things. But we can enrich the soil. We need to do a good cleaning of the chicken coop and put it all. Put it all. You could put it in some in all these beds.
Yep. I agree. It ain't no wonder I'm hungry.
Why? What
1
time?
o'clock.
No wonder you've come unfed.
I stay unfed, but especially today.
All right, well, let's go in. I'll make you some dinner.
You don't have to make me nothing. I can make me a sandwich or something.
Well,
I don't want to be a bother.
you're not a bother.
Listen to them old ladies say, I don't want to be a bother. But they really want you to do it.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Well,
Maybe Katie will bring us some fish.
maybe.
I'd say they'll eat them all.
Well, they're going to eat them for supper. And what she caught yesterday, they're going to eat for supper, she said today.
I'll call her and tell her you ought to be ashamed if you don't bring your daddy and your mom at least one fish apiece.
Don't tell her that. She'll be out there fishing in the middle of the night trying to catch them.
Yeah, probably. Actually, it's against the law to fish at night.
Oh, is
trout
it?
fish, yeah.
Sorry.
The only
I don't
river
know.
in the whole state that you can do that in is Nanahaga.
Really? Wonder why.
'Cause
it
of
has.
raptors.
Oh, because it has so much pressure during the day.
It's so
yeah.
hard to fish during the day, but you can fish it legally at night.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Of course,
So
I'm
you
not a
stick
fisher
around,
person.
you stick around me, you learn vital, important things.
That's true. You teach me a lot.
Most of it ain't fit to know.
No. All right, come on. I'll make you a sandwich.
Here, and I'll take the chairs back down there. Oh. I like those. I don't like putting them together, but I like them once they're up there.
You like putting them together better than you do the
Yeah,
cutting timber.
but I like that.